Live from Million Monroe Studios in Beverly Hills, California. It's Power Hour. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode. This is the Power Hour, and I'm your host, Million Monroe, and tonight we have a very exciting episode. This one we're going to be talking about something that people have been wanting to know about for quite some time. Everybody seems to be keep asking me. They say, Million, where's your royal family from? Well, okay, so let me just explain here. Okay, so let's hold up both hands. Okay, so I'm holding up and extending both of my hands. I've got my left hand and my right hand up in the air, and I'm extending all 10 fingers, okay? So on one hand, we have 5 fingers, which represent kings and queens on my mom's side. And then on my other hand, we have 5 fingers, which represent kings and queens on my dad's side. So I have 10 kings and queens on my mom's and my dad's side. They're literally royal family members. They're literally kings and queens. Now, over time, over the last 1,000 years, those kings and queens have trickled down on both sides of my family. They've narrowed down to me. That is how I became royalty. So not only that, but, I've got it through 7 different versions of my family. So I have literally 7 royal families in my family. Yeah, there's not another person on this planet who pretty much has more royal DNA than I do. I hate to toot my own horn, but it's absolutely true. You're from royal family. What does that mean? In my case, it does mean that I'm royalty. King Rollo on one side of my family, who was the king of the Vikings. And we'll leave you with that thought for right now. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back after these messages. And we're back. Thanks for tuning in to Power Hour with your host, Million Monroe de Clifford Plantagenet. King Rollo on one side of my family, who was the king of the Vikings. He gave birth to every single royal family member ever since 900 AD, and Queen Elizabeth II. Yes, she is King Rollo's great niece. Well, I'm King Rollo's great-grandson, because my mom has his last name, my grandma has his last name, my great-grandma has his last name, and all the way back to King Rollo. Their last name is Clifford, and before that, their last name was de Clifford, and then before that, it was Norman. So my family's name started off as being King Rollo Norman, then it changed it to de Clifford, and then they changed it to Clifford. So that is literally my family's name, and we are the direct line to King Rollo. On the other hand, I have King Henry III, is also my immediate great-grandfather, and he created the Magna Carta, whereas King Rollo created the Parliament, which created government in all countries. My great-grandfather, King Henry III, created the Magna Carta, which pretty much changed the face of the court system and judicial system as we know it today for the betterment of all mankind. And then we have King Henry V. His daughter was Princess Mary. She married my great-grandfather, Prince William Aldrich, who was a court bailiff, and because they married, he became prince and royalty. They fell in love, and they had children. However, oddly enough, because of wartime secrecies and because of wartime issues with King Henry V, who was one of the greatest generals Europe ever had, he barred marriage, blocked marriages, and protected marriages and hid marriages during the wartime, I think mostly in part to protect his own children so nobody would know that he had children, because he was in such a rival war with a lot of different people that he just didn't want it to be known that he had those possible weaknesses. There we have it. There's three of the royal family members. Then I have celebrities within, like Pastor William Brewster, the pastor of the Mayflower in 1600, who started the first Thanksgiving, is also my great-grandfather. And then I have Hollywood movie celebrities, and there's lots of other people. I'm just that person. Every single person in my family line is historical. Every single person in my family history and my family tree is legendary. Yes, it's absolutely true. So you are literally listening to King Rollo's great-grandson talk to you right now. You are literally listening to King Henry III's great-grandson talk to you. And you are literally listening to King Henry V's great-grandson right now. And I call him King. Pastor William Brewster of the Mayflower's great-grandson. So, like I said, the easiest way to explain it is all 10 royal family members boiled down to me. Now, am I above anybody else? Am I above the law? Yes and no. No, I'm not above the law, but the law enforcement does like to work with me because I'm very good at what I do, and our family has been very good at what they do for thousands of years, which is leading countries and situating and sorting BS from the truth. And trust me, we have a lot of truth in our family, and we have very little BS. Because we don't like BS. We never have and we never will. That's our family line, though. That's the direct family line to King Rollo. The family members today who are distant family members, I don't know. I can't speak for them, but let's just say they're not us, okay? We'll leave you with that thought for right now. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back after these messages. And we're back. Thanks for tuning in to Power Hour with your host, Million Monroe DeClifford Plantagenet. Do we show off our castles and our mansions and our fancy cars and our Rolls Royces and Mercedes Benz and Porsches and Lamborghinis and Ferraris? No, we don't. Do we have those? Yes, we do. We have limousines and helicopters and airplanes and Cessnas and private jets and castles. Yes, sure. A lot of our family members do have that, including myself. I do also have access to those things. But do we flash them? No. Why? Because it was taught to us not to. We do not do that. We are not to put ourselves in that position. Our main priority is the people. Okay, so the next is royal warrants. Now, my family has 7 royal warrants. And what a royal warrant is, a royal warrant was awarded by the king or the queen to a specific family because that particular family had been observed, they had been watched, they've been studied, they've been analyzed by the king and the queen to be trustworthy, to be honest, to be loyal, to be faithful, to be hardworking, to be the best of the best, to be royal, to be regal, to be elegant, to be sophisticated, to be smart, to be intelligent. Once the king and the queen recognized those traits, they would then give that person what's called a royal warrant. Now, for instance, the Loftus family was given a royal warrant, which is one of my families in my tree. It's actually my grandma's grandma. Also, the Littlefield family is my family tree, and they were given a royal warrant. In fact, they were given 2 of them. All 7 of my family lines, including the kings and queens, were given royal warrants. So I literally have 7 royal warrants in my family. On every branch of my family is royal family, has royal warrants, which are all approved, which means that we all have the seal of approval. We all have the stamp of approval from a king and a queen, which is much higher than a United States president, because these are royal family members who had no distractions, 0 distractions, 1,000 years ago, who were able to watch, study, and observe that our families, and all 7 of my families, did hold up and did qualify and did meet all of the royal standards to be trustworthy, hardworking, loyal, honest, faithful, and all of those things I described earlier. Not many families were given those things. That was the highest honor. And in fact, I have several royal knights in my family as well, who are also given royal warrants. And 2 or 3 of those families have royal knights in them. That's another story. We'll leave you with that thought for right now. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back after these messages. And we're back. Thanks for tuning in to Power Hour with your host, Million Monroe DeClifford Plantagenet. So yes, I am extremely trustworthy. I do not lie. I do not BS. And I do call people to the table. And I do cut out all the BS. And I do expose the truth. And I do tell the truth. And if anything is less than perfect in my life or has been less than perfect in my life, trust me, it was not me. It was a manipulation done by the United States government. On an experimental level or on a personal level, they have ways of manipulating people into doing things. And as you might tell, because I am such a royal, literally a royal person, my ranks are much higher than anybody in the United States, and I'm just being honest with you. So, the government has their reasons for wanting to interfere with my life because they're insecure and they know that I'm smarter than they are. They know I'm more royal than they are, and they know I know what I'm doing because my family's been doing it for thousands of years, which is leading countries successfully. So, anything less perfection in my life is not me. It was not my doing. And some of you may or may not know what I'm talking about, but none of that was my doing. And I hope you're listening. So, let's see here. Now, the next subject I want to talk about is finding a mate. Now, how do royal family members find a mate? How do they find a partner? How do they find a spouse? People have been asking this question. So if you've been asking this question, how am I finding a girlfriend? How am I finding a wife? Well, I find my wife and I find my girlfriend the same way that any king and any queen would find their royal wife and their royal husband. And we do look at it as just that. We look at the person as a husband, as a wife. We don't look for flings at all whatsoever. We do not do one-night stands. We do not do tricks. We do not pay for sex. We do not do any of those things. We look for a wife or a husband. Because, and let me explain why, for thousands of years, my family has literally been deeply and thoroughly and rigidly trained on looking for specific characteristics in a wife or a husband. And those characteristics involve leadership and good paternal paying attentionship and good skills and good learning skills and good paying attention skills, which stand above the rest because you're going to be responsible, or that person will be responsible for millions of people in the country. And so our family line has been teaching us that, how to look for these partners and these spouses and those qualities. And if those qualities do not exist in a partner, I'm sorry, you can't be in the royal family. You cannot join, you cannot get what we have to offer because chances are you will abuse it. And let me say that again. Chances are you will abuse the talents that our family line has. And we are trained, we are taught to not give those talents to anybody under any circumstances unless they're the right person. So again, I say, if there was any imperfections in my past, in my history, it was not me. Finding a mate, finding a partner, finding a successor for the throne would be, in my case, it would be a queen. I would be looking for an actual lady, a female, a queen, who is going to be competent enough to be able to be caring, nurturing, kind, compassionate, loving, and understanding, and also has the intelligence to be a good leader and a good teacher. She could teach her children how to lead countries as well. So these are all things that are very deeply ingrained, embedded within our DNA, within our soul, within every ounce of our bodies. So, finding a mate to us, not so easy. Finding a mate for you, finding a partner for you, well, that might just be the easiest thing that you've ever done. Because all you got to do is go down to the store, go down to the market, go down to the restaurant, go out to the store, go out here, go out there, and you can find a person. Guess what? We can't. We live under a very different set of rules. Much like, let's say Paris Hilton or Michael Jackson or Tom Cruise or some of these big stars of today, or of yesterday, or, J-Lo or Mariah Carey or JoJo Siwa or, any of those people, who have extreme responsibilities. Well, they are now in a category where they can't just pick anybody. I'm sorry, you can't. You're in a position where you are leading the entire country to follow you. Guess what? Your partner has to be equivalent to that. And if that partner is not, you can tank the entire country all by your little self. Yes, you can. Absolutely. Now, you're not in a king position or a queen position, but your responsibilities need to be very similar when you're crossing the street. You need to do that when the green light flashes and not the red, because millions of people are watching. So, the responsibilities come in all shapes and sizes if you're in the limelight, especially if you're a royal family member like myself. We'll leave you with that thought for right now. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back after these messages. And we're back. Thanks for tuning in to Power Hour with your host, Amelia Monroe de Clifford Plantagenet. Now, let's talk about the next step here would be King Rollo is the great-grandfather of almost 99% of the people, Caucasians in the United States and Europe. And it's a true story, he is. So if King Rollo is the great-grandfather of 99% of the Caucasians in the United States, what does that make his immediate grandson? Think about it. If King Rollo is the great-grandfather of every Caucasian, his great-grandson then is what? Is also the great-grandfather of every Caucasian in the world. That's right. You are literally listening to your great-grandfather. Thanks for tuning in. I'm glad you stuck through me with this long. So as you can tell, you're going to have a lot of fun on these podcasts and on my TV shows that are going to be coming up. So I hope you guys are staying tuned because I've got some really cool stuff. And this is coming directly from your great-grandfather. And I'm not joking. 7 royal families all lead to me. Every one of my families has a royal warrant, and I am King Rollo's great-grandson. That should give you a little bit of history there, a little bit of enjoyment on how I became to be royal. And, I know I joked with a few people when I got to Hollywood. I told one guy, he was interested, so I told him that my grandfather's name was Moishnish. Well, you know why I told him that? Because I didn't want to talk about it. I wanted people to like me for me and not for my royal family. So I just, I told people differently. But, hi guys. Well, if you know who I am, well then congratulations. Yeah, now you have the full story. Now you have the complete story. So I don't want to hear any BS from you. Because I know everything about you. Trust me. You know, all those analyzing skills that my family has that I told you about, where we gave them people royal warrants and royal seals of approval? Well, guess what? A couple of you got my royal seal of approval. A couple of you? I hope that we don't cross paths again. Let's just say that, because, there's some people out in Hollywood who are not very nice. But then again, there are some people who are really nice. So, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This is called the Royal episode. And if you want to hear more, you want to hear an interview with me, Google British royalty with Prince Jordan Tyson on iHeartRadio, and you can hear an interview where I was interviewed by a radio station a few years back. Okay, God bless you guys. Lots of love, and we'll talk to you soon. You're tuned in to Power Hour with Million Monroe, the Clifford Plantagenet.